Between 1963 and 1968, 7 American cars were built that had no business existing on public roads. They weren't designed for comfort, fuel economy, or daily transportation. They were factory-sponsored weapons built to win drag races, and the only reason civilians could buy them was because sanctioning bodies demanded it. These weren't muscle cars in the traditional sense. They were purpose-built race machines with license plates, and every one of them proved that when automakers decided winning mattered more than profit margins, they were willing to build almost anything. Number 1, 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11. The first shot in this arms race came from Chevrolet in late 1962. General Motors had officially banned factory racing support, but Chevrolet found a loophole. They built the Z11 Impala for customers who happened to be drag racers. The package started with a 427 cubic inch engine that used an aluminum block and aluminum heads to cut weight. The intake manifold was aluminum. Even the bell housing was aluminum. Chevrolet stripped nearly 200 pounds from the engine alone, but weight reduction didn't stop there. The Z11 came without sound deadening, without heaters, and with aluminum bumper brackets. The hood was fiberglass. The fenders were thinner gauge steel. Chevrolet installed the lightest battery they could source and deleted anything that wasn't mandatory. The result was a full-size sedan that weighed less than some mid-size cars and carried an engine rated at 430 horsepower. That rating was conservative. On the strip, Z11 Impalas were running low 12-second quarter miles in factory trim. Only 57 were built. Chevrolet sold them through select dealerships to known racers. The price was roughly $4,000, but the car came with no warranty and a signed disclaimer stating it was unsuitable for street use. Buyers were told explicitly that this was a race car. Most never saw a public road. The Z11 dominated NHRA Super Stock competition in 1963, and within months, every other manufacturer knew they had to respond. Number 2, 1963 Pontiac Catalina Super Duty. Pontiac answered with the Catalina Super Duty 421. Like the Z11, it exploited the gap between GM's public racing ban and what individual divisions were willing to build for private customers. Pontiac rated it at 405 horsepower, but dyno tests suggested output closer to 465. The Catalina wasn't as extensively lightened as the Z11, but Pontiac still gutted the interior, installed aluminum front body panels, and used a lightweight front bumper. They offered a 4-speed manual or a BorgWarner T-10 for the most serious buyers. The rear axle was a heavy-duty Dana unit built to survive repeated launches at over 5,000 RPM. Pontiac built fewer than a dozen Super Duty Catalinas for 1963. The exact number remains disputed. Some sources claim 8, others say 14. What isn't disputed is their performance. Number 3, 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. Ford didn't pretend. When they built the Fairlane Thunderbolt in 1964, they made exactly 100 units because NHRA required it, and every single car was sold to a sanctioned drag racer. There was no pretense of street legality. The Thunderbolt was a mid-size Fairlane with a 427 cubic inch high-riser, Vate, shoehorned into an engine bay never meant to hold it. Ford had to relocate the battery to the trunk, modify the shock towers, and fabricate custom headers just to make it fit. The engine produced 425 horsepower with a single 4-barrel carburetor. The Thunderbolt came with fiberglass fenders, a fiberglass hood with a massive scoop, and plexiglass windows. The Thunderbolt dominated a /FX and super stock categories in 1964, winning so consistently that competitors accused Ford of cheating. Number 4, 1965 Dodge Coronet A990. Chrysler had been watching Ford and GM tear apart the drag strips, and in 1965 they struck back. The Dodge Coronet A990 was their answer, and it made the Thunderbolt look conservative. Dodge started with the 426 Hemi engine, an aluminum block monster that produced 425 horsepower on paper. Chrysler engineers built the aluminum Hemi specifically to meet NHRA's weight-to-horsepower requirements, and they succeeded by creating an engine that was simultaneously more powerful and lighter than anything Ford or GM had fielded. The car came with a TorqueFlite automatic transmission built to withstand the Hemi's torque output. Dodge built fewer than 70 A990 Coronets. They were sold directly to racers through Chrysler's performance network. The price was steep, and the warranty was non-existent. But the A990 delivered. It won NHRA Super Stock Championships and set records that stood for years. Ford and GM engineers studied the results and realized Chrysler had achieved something they hadn't. A production-based car that could consistently run tens without extensive modification. Number 5, 1966 Ford Fairlane 500R code. Ford responded to Chrysler's Hemi assault with the 1966 Fairlane 500R code. It wasn't as extreme as the Thunderbolt, but that was the point. Ford needed a car that could be raced on Sunday and driven on Monday, something that satisfied NHRA homologation while still being sellable to the public. The R code carried the 427 Sidoiler Vate, rated at 425 horsepower. This was the same engine used in Ford's GT40 endurance racers, and it was built to survive sustained high RPM operation. The Sidoiler designation came from the engine's lubrication system. Ford paired the 427 with a top-loader 4-speed transmission and a 9-inch rear axle. The suspension was upgraded with heavier springs and stiffer shocks to handle weight transfer during acceleration. Ford built just 70 R-code Fairlanes in 1966. Unlike the Thunderbolt, these cars retained full interiors, functional heaters, and standard glass. They could be titled and insured as street cars. Number 6, 1968 Dodge Hemi Dart. In 1968, Dodge took the lightweight concept to its absolute limit. The Hemi Dart was built by Hurst Performance under contract with Chrysler, and it represented the final evolution of the factory drag car. Dodge started with a Dart two-door, gutted the interior, and installed a 426 Hemi. The Hemi was underrated at 425 horsepower, but with open headers and race fuel, output exceeded 600. Dodge installed a 4-speed manual transmission and a Dana 60 rear axle with 4.86 gears. The front suspension was modified to accommodate the Hemi's weight, and the rear springs were relocated to improve traction. The finished car weighed less than 3,000 pounds. Dodge built 80 Hemi Darts. 75 were sold to racers. 5 were kept for factory testing. The cars came with a disclaimer stating they were not intended for street use, and buyers had to sign a waiver acknowledging this. The Hemi Dart ran 9s in the quarter-mile with street tires and broke into the 8s with slicks. Most owners immediately installed drag racing slicks, removed the exhaust system, and tuned the Hemi for maximum output. Number 7, 1968 Plymouth Hemi Barracuda. Plymouth built their version of the Hemi Dart simultaneously, and the Hemi Barracuda was nearly identical in execution. Hurst Performance handled the conversion, installing the 426 Hemi into the Barracuda's lightweight unibody and replacing body panels with fiberglass. The engine, transmission, and rear axle were the same as the Hemi Dart. The weight was comparable. The performance was identical. Plymouth built 75 Hemi Barracudas. Like the Dart, they were sold exclusively to racers and came with no warranty or street use guarantee. The Barracuda's slightly different weight distribution gave it a marginal advantage in certain classes, but on the strip, both cars were equals. Together, the Hemi Dart and Hemi Barracuda represented the peak of factory drag car development. They were the fastest, lightest, and most extreme vehicles any manufacturer had built for public sale. These 7 cars proved that when winning mattered more than sales volume, American automakers were capable of engineering brilliance that bordered on insanity. They were never meant to be practical. They were meant to cross the finish line first, and they succeeded. Today, survivors command six-figure prices at auction. A documented Hemi Dart or Barracuda can exceed $500,000. If this look at Detroit's most extreme factory weapons left you wanting more, drop a comment with the wildest muscle car you've ever encountered. Hit the like button if you appreciate when automakers stopped playing it safe. And subscribe, because the history of American performance is far from over.